Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Hey, today I'm going to get back on the Suzuki RM125 Crankshaft. Been kind of putting that off. I was so lucky doing the first half. It turned out, I have to say, pretty beautiful actually. And I just kind of was thinking my luck was going to run out. So I kind of put it off for a little while, but it's time to get back on it. And this one here, we're going to do the same things we did on the other side. It's just a little, different dimensions is all. So let me get you overhead. We'll take a peek at it. Okay, got all the stuff here, I think. I've been kind of practicing a little bit. I had some 1-inch material and I was practicing with my threads here, so I'm pretty happy with that. But I didn't want to have to be going through taking all this material off all the time, so I stopped over and picked up a piece of 3/4. This stub is 16 millimeter. It's a 16 millimeter 1.50 threads, and as I told you, I think the last video on this, I'd stopped over I'd ordered up new threads or new nuts, and I've also got the new bearings and everything for the rod. The rod is in good shape, near as I can tell, looks good. So instead of putting the old bearing back in, picked up a new Suzuki bearing and pin. And the thrust washers right here. And I had already picked up a used gear, so I've got so we don't have to mess with trying to clean up all the weld on that one. So it will be assembled. Let me get all this stuff I don't need right now out of the way. So we've got the seal, the bearing, the shim, which is this piece right here, and then the spacer, this one right here, then the gear, then the Belleville washer, which is concave on one side, convex on the other. That's your lock, and the nut. And this fits pretty good, but it doesn't fit as good as it does on a new crank, one that's been unmolested. So I would recommend, when the owner puts this back together, that he uses red Loctite on these threads. And if you ever have to take it off, then you just heat it with a propane torch first, and then it'll come off. But it should not come off by itself. But you just never know. That may have been why this one fits better than the old one did. But yeah, but it doesn't fit as good as it does on a unmolested crankshaft. It fits good, but it's got a little bit of looseness. But this is all we've got to deal with. There's no way for us to go in here and redo all this. I'm not capable of redoing these splines. So it's this way or none at all. But I think it'll be all right. Just put some red Loctite on it. This is the first one we did. We put a new snout in the, this one here was beat up too. We put a new snout in here, Loctited it in, and then pinned it right here. And we had to go back in and cut the keyway deeper because you're cutting into this material here. So it wasn't a full depth keyway. So it should be okay there now. this nut fits good, and everything else, the taper, the bearing, seal surface, everything else was good on this piece. Now this one here, like I say, this one here we pinned right here, and this is case hardened. We had to had quite a chore getting through there, and since then I picked up a carbide drill bit, so I'll be able to drill this one a little better, because we'll be going into right about here, because this is a bearing surface, and this is Suzuki uses slip fit bearings on these. This is the inner, and it just slips right on there. And then you've got this, actually you got the shim, the spacer, and then the gear, Belleville washer, and the nut. So that's how it'll be installed. The seal goes in before anything does. So the pin that we put in will probably be more or less under this one here. Maybe under this a little bit too. It doesn't matter. They're slip fit. So we'll just we'll make sure that it's down low enough that it's not going to catch or bother anything. And we'll be using the 3/4 inch material to make our new stud. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take this over and put it in the forejaw and indicate it. Get it, get, you know, gnat's butt on. And then I'm going to come in here and I'll probably take an insert and just come on in here and finish taking this weld out right here. Then we'll use a cutoff tool and come in here and cut this piece off. Then we'll take, we'll drill it. I have not yet decided what size, but whatever size it is, we'll try to get a 2/1000 interference fit, and we'll Loctite it in just like we did the other one, and then pin it. So after we get the whole size done, I'll come back in and we'll cut the minor diameter on the what will go into the hole. Then we'll set it back up into the lathe and we'll cut the threads, and then we'll have to press it in. So that's kind of how the itinerary is going to look. So let me get things sorted here, cleaned up. We'll get back over to the lathe and we'll get everything indicated. Okay, I got it set up here, and I think I've got it set up pretty good. Within about a 1/2 thou. And I checked it this way also. It's kind of rough, but I got those two holes to go over also. Yeah, that's a hole. That's a hole. So it's within about 1 thou, or a 1/2 thou there too. Let me see if I can get that up on the ledge there. It's not quite the movement. Yeah, I think we'll go with that. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and try to trim off this weld up to the splines. You don't want to try to take too much. We've got a lot of leverage there. That old weld's pretty hard too. Okay, I think we can go with that. Now I should be able to get my cutoff tool in there. Yeah, I imagine this is a little bit of case hardening. I'm sure that the splines are. Like I say, we've got a lot of leverage here, so we speed it up a little bit. Starting to get through that case hardening, I think. Sounds a little better now. Yeah, we're just about through. And there she goes. So we get rid of that nub. Yeah. And we're still dealing with a little weld out there. I'm going to probably get into here with a file. Shouldn't be too tough. Just a couple of splines that need a little work there. I think that's it. Yeah, let me grab my gear. Yeah, good to go. All right. See if we can get our starter hole going here. Okay, so that should get us started straight, and we'll just step our drills up. Now I've got to figure out what size I'm going to go to for the stub that's going to go into the shaft here. Okay guys, I'm kind of set up here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole. Now that'll be to the outside part of on the drill bit, not the tip. I'm going to go to 1.075, and that should give me plenty of room in there to pin it right here at the end of the bearing surface. So I've got my drill stop on there, and we're going to go ahead and start drilling. We just take a little at a time. And work up our drill size. We're actually going to go to 7/16. I think that'll be, you could probably go to 1/2 inch on that, but I just don't want to push the wall thickness. So we'll go to 7/16, and then when we make our stub to go back in there, we'll make it about 2/1000 larger. See, this is working the same way as the other one did. Actually drills pretty good. You know, it's a little harder than normal 1018 or something like that, I think, but it's not drilling hard. But I just guarantee you the outside of it is case hardened. So I've got a carbide bit, so that's what we'll be using. I don't, for what I'm doing now, these are just high-speed steel. But to get through that case hardening, I think we'll need that. Next step. Okay, this is the final size, 7/16. Seems like the last run through I was hitting some stuff a little harder. I wonder if some of the case hardening from the spline area there is it may be deeper than I thought, but we're making it through okay. Oops. I think I'm hitting some of that. All right, should be it. Okay, that's our final dimension. Hopefully you can see up in there. So, now we've got to make the stub and thread the stub and then press it in there just like we did on the other one. And I'm going to go ahead and run a reamer through it. Just to clean it up. And then we'll finish it up with a little bevel here. That'll help start the stub. And also, if you've got a little bit of a raised area or something, it'll let the stub go ahead and seat where it needs to. So there's one more look at it. Oops. Okay, so we should be done in here. Looks pretty good. That's just what we need, I think. Okay, I just put a little acetone in there. Take a couple of Q-tips, get in there and clean it up good. And that'll dry right up. So there we go. So we'll make our stub in the next one, and we'll cut it down so it'll fit in here, get the length right and everything, and then we'll thread the end of it just before we go ahead and press it in. And of course then we'll have to pin it, or drill it and pin it and trim it. So there you go, guys. Getting a little closer on this thing. You know, it's making the stub isn't going to be that hard. The only hairy thing is getting it installed, getting it pressed in. It's got to be a pretty precise fit, and it can't be too long or too short. It's got to be just right, and slide in there, and then we'll drill it and pin it. And for this side, I'm going to use, since the piece going in is bigger, I'm going to use a 3/16 pin instead of a 1/8 inch. And I did have to go ahead and drill or order a carbide 3/16 bit. I just wanted to make sure that I could get through it. So that'll be in, you know, next week sometime, and hopefully we can get it done. And then if everything is satisfactory, then we're going to go ahead and build the crank. And hopefully everything will be good, and I can send it back to Oklahoma and see, hopefully they can get it together and let me know if it runs and doesn't rattle or doesn't shake, rattle, and roll or whatever. So hey, thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.